Today we have the opportunity to interview United States Army Colonel Eldridge Singleton, commandant of the Western Hemisphere Institute for Security Cooperation, WHINSEC. All right. Thank you, Colonel, for your time for Diálogo Americas. And let's start with the first question. In June 2024, you assumed the duty of commandant of the Western Hemisphere Institute for Security Cooperation, WHINSEC. What are your priorities on this new role?
So for me, the biggest priority that we have is making sure that we provide the best professional military education and training that we possibly can, based in human rights and democracy, so that we can improve the interoperability of our forces with our forces and our partners and allies in the countries of the Organization of American States.
You are a seasoned foreign officer, having served in many parts of the world, and very importantly as a defense attaché throughout the region, including Belize, Jamaica, Bolivia, and Haiti. How will your experience shape your decisions at WHINSEC?
So being an attaché as well as being a security cooperation officer, also being involved in security assistance underneath the U.S. Army Security Assistance Command, those all give me unique perspectives into different ways in order to look at sometimes the very same problem set. So in one instance, you're looking at it from how is it that we do the best job of telling the story of our partner nations and their interoperability with our nation to our senior leaders, as well as to their senior leaders. The other aspect of it is looking at how is it that we build and establish programs that build partner capacity and that assist those foreign nations into building some sort of capability in order to support an operation, an activity, or an initiative. For us, it's a two-way street, and working at an embassy, seeing that collaboration, that's actually mutual, not one-sided or the other. I think it's extremely impactful. I think lastly is that, going and bridging the gap in between the information and the activities really come to sometimes into the material and the way that we structure those programs. And so from that perspective, how it is that our nations, work together in order to build security assistance, capabilities to respond to those needs are extremely important, whether that be through material, and in the case of WHINSEC specifically, when it comes to training and education. That is one of those security assistance activities that dovetails into security cooperation and really can't be separated from one another.
WHINSEC has been the professional military education center of excellence of the Americas for more than 20 years, graduating an average of 400 students from military and security forces of the region for each year. How important is it for security forces of the region to be able to learn in an environment as WHINSEC?
So I think it's absolutely imperative, in order for the success of our nations to work together in the regions and the sub-regions of the Western Hemisphere. Many countries have 2, 3, 4 different nations that neighbor them. And so when it comes to transnational criminal organized crime, when it comes to climate, response and climate change, how we respond has to be in a unitary, of collaborative environment. So what better place to do that than at a place like WHINSEC, where you get multiple countries together in a different environment outside of Latin America. Because you think about it, when a crisis happens or when a situation evolves, it's not in our normal setting. So by bringing people to the United States, not only are they able to interoperate better, they're able to understand it from a perspective of, hey, how is it that we take our individual cultures, our individual perspectives, and our individual mannerisms and mechanisms, how do we bring those together in order to collaborate and actually come to an outstanding product on the back end side? WHINSEC is just an amazing place in order to do that.
How important is it for WHINSEC to continue to educate, train, and also exchange experiences with the region's professionals who attend?
So for us, I think that this is one of the things that we have to do. So switching it around a little bit, instead of talking about our partners and allies first, let's talk about the experience that comes to our American soldiers that actually participate in our classes, both in Spanish and the few courses that we teach in English. They get the opportunity to understand what it is that our partners and allies see when it comes to the United States and what they expect from us when we come to the table in order to provide some sort of support and assistance to whatever activities that they bring. Same thing, that also allows them to understand what it is that the United States Army and the Department of Defense from the United States is expecting when we actually link up with and coordinate with our partners and allies. So being able to coordinate and collaborate in that space is vital.
What have been some of the recent changes in the institution's curriculum to adapt to evolving demand in the multinational operations?
So, we look at the Northcom and Southcom theater campaign strategy as a fundamental space for us in order to start looking at how we develop a curriculum. But in that same space, in that same time, we also have to look at what's going on in the broader scale of global events. So we look at the conflict between Ukraine and Russia. We look at the expansion of the People's Republic of China and their influence, throughout the region. For us, it becomes very important for us in order to make sure our courses are relevant. How do we do that? The Army in itself, underneath the Army University, they develop courseware, especially for our Command General Staff College, as well as work with our Maneuver Center of Excellence for their Maneuver Captain's Career Course, to make sure that we're taking those lessons learned from the conflict in Ukraine, our engagement interaction with the PRC, as well as those things that are happening in Gaza, in order to integrate them into our courseware in a way that is consistent with the way the Army is doing it. So just because something is happening in the world doesn't mean that WHINSEC is going to immediately jump on and change it without coordinating with the Army. We want the product that comes out of the WHINSEC to be an Army and a DoD product, not something that is overly responsive, that may come out of line of what's actually being taught in our current doctrine and training.
The Women, Peace, and Security program has been a crucial security cooperation and security efforts tool for the region. How does WHINSEC, and in addition to its yearly WPS symposium, promote gender integrations?
So even before the Women's Peace and Security program was established by law in 2017, I will tell you that we've been integrated with Southcom and Northcom and the Women's Peace and Security Initiative from the very start. What Women, Peace, and Security is about isn't about numbers. It isn't about the quantity of women we see in those different formations. It's making sure that women's perspectives, the perspective of girls and boys and children, are very much included in the prevention of conflict, as well as in the response, and the recovery from conflict or disaster. So for us, we are one of the organizations that we have 3 gender advisors on our staff. We have 5 gender focal points that are all trained at the Department of Defense's level 100 and level 200 courseware. Why? Because it is that important to us that not only do we promote those ideas and activities, but we're in alignment with what the U.S. government, our partner nation allies are doing, as well as what's in the law, what's in the regulations, and what are the real objectives that we're trying to get at, which is effects on the ground within our own nation and our partner nations as well.
WHINSEC recently collaborated with the U.S. Southern Command sponsor exercise Panamax 24. In what capacity did WHINSEC participate, and how important is it for the institution to take part in multinational exercises?
So WHINSEC, what we did was we provided actual instructors and observers to Panamax. The first portion of it was to work in the bilateral portion of the activity, where the United States and Panama collaborated to understand how we do joint training, military decision-making process, and the incident command response programs and systems. This was so that we were understanding how we were supposed to be communicating and what were the required outputs in order to have an effective response. So that was first. From there, towards the end of that, we transitioned to the point where we were actually observing and see how they were actually able to implement that in a bilateral tabletop exercise. From there, we then expanded into the phase 2, where you had the multinational aspect. Again, this is where WHINSEC would then support and assist in observing that training that was provided, and how they were actually able to implement it into communicating outcomes to all the forces that participated in Panamax. So we participated for several weeks, but and that's a huge human resource drain on us, because we want to put guys in the classroom, but classroom application is nice, but to actually see it happen and execute it, in real time and real space, I mean, you just really can't get a better product than that. So that's where we figured it was best for us to spend our time and money and people.
The last question will be, Colonel, what are some of the WHINSEC's upcoming events, subject matter experts exchanges, or engagements that our partner nations should keep an eye for?
Okay. So specific for WHINSEC, we have what's called our senior alumni engagement, which is where we bring alumni from across the different countries in order to participate in a series of symposiums, a series of conferences, and a series of lectures that deal with, one, what we are doing at WHINSEC currently, where we plan on going, and then some of the initiatives. That's happening the week of the 23rd of September. So that's one that's coming up right on the cusp. Another thing that we're looking at during the week of the 10th of March of 2025 is we're looking at doing a Women in Peace and Security Symposium that we host annually. We're looking to expand that program, as well as our Board of Visitors conference, and which is really where the public gets the opportunity to take a look at and ask questions about really what it is that we're doing at WHINSEC. It's a great opportunity for us to showcase the great work that we do within any particular year. But aside from that, WHINSEC is involved in CANSEC, CENTSEC, SouthDec. I mean, any place where Southern and Northern Command are engaged, and U.S. Army and U.S. South and U.S. Army North, WHINSEC is there. We have a seat at the table, and we're always willing and able to engage and interact with whoever it is that may have a question or an opportunity to either come teach or be students at WHINSEC.
Colonel, anything else you want to add?
So one of the things that a lot of people sometimes fail to realize is that WHINSEC is not just an organization designed for the military. WHINSEC is open to military, academics, civil servants from different countries. We have Department of State, we have Homeland Security from our own country, and we receive personnel from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs from different countries, their Ministry of Interior as well, that come and attend courses. We have individuals from other countries that come and teach in our human rights courses. So we have opportunities available for students, instructors, as well as guest lecturers and fellows and interns. So it's one of those great and wonderful opportunities that we have that I think sometimes are kind of overshadowed by the military moniker that sits on WHINSEC, but WHINSEC is really an institution that's open for all.
United States Army Colonel Eldridge Singleton, Commandant of WHINSEC, thank you very much for your time.
No, thank you much. I appreciate it.